She who doesn't fit the mold often ends up creating her own kingdom. You ever feel like you weren't born to echo, but to disrupt? Like your presence in a room doesn't just turn heads, it flips the whole vibe. If that rings true, then welcome home. You've just crossed into the realm of the Sigma Lady, where being different isn't a phase, it's a foundation. You're not here to follow trends, fit in, or water yourself down to match anyone's comfort zone. You're here to command space, set standards, and challenge systems, without raising your voice or needing a crowd. This video is not another copy-paste pep talk. It's a recognition, a mirror, a breakdown of what makes Sigma Ladies unshakable, unapologetic, and often misunderstood. Before we dive in, tap that subscribe button. This is your tribe now, and here we don't apologize for being too much. We build empires out of it. And if this content hits home, you can support me through Buy Me a Coffee. Link is in the description and pinned comment. Your support keeps this content sharp, honest, and real. 1. The Unfollow Queen. You don't do messy exits. You don't make noise when you leave. No dramatic posts, no cryptic stories. You simply disconnect. And that silence, it's loud enough to shake the room. As a Sigma female, your detachment isn't cold. It's calculated. You understand that not every situation, person, or place deserves a seat in your future. The moment the energy shifts, you don't wait for things to get better. You cut the cord and move. You don't announce your growth, you just outgrow. What people call ghosting, you call self-respect. You know that staying somewhere just to appear polite is the fastest way to betray your own peace, and you've done enough of that in the past. Not anymore. You've mastered the art of energetic boundaries, where you don't have to scream, explain, or justify. Your absence becomes the closure. Some call you heartless, but the truth is, you've got one of the biggest hearts out there. You're just done offering it to people who don't know how to hold it. Walking away in silence isn't weakness, it's power. It means you trust your intuition over their excuses. It means you refuse to engage in cycles that lead nowhere. It means you'd rather be alone in truth than surrounded by comfort rooted in lies. You're not addicted to chaos. You're loyal to clarity. And sometimes the clearest thing you can do is walk away without a word. That's not being toxic. That's being a queen of self-preservation. 2. Boundaries, not walls. There's a huge difference between being unavailable and being unapologetically selective. And you, Sigma Lady, understand the difference deeply. People often misread your distance. They say you're closed off or hard to approach. But the truth is, you've just learned not to open your door for every knock. Boundaries are your language of self-love. They're not barriers, they're filters. They're how you maintain your energy, protect your values, and make sure the people around you are aligned, not just present. You don't explain your limits because you know the right people won't need explanations. You don't bend your rules just to avoid rejection. You don't say yes when everything inside you is screaming no. You don't give everyone access to your emotional landscape, not because you don't feel deeply, but because you feel too deeply to risk giving that intimacy to someone reckless with energy. Walls keep people out. Boundaries let the right ones in. You're not hard to get. You're just hard to misuse. And that's the difference most people can't handle. You're not waiting to be saved. You're building your own peace. And anyone who steps into your world better come with respect, not entitlement. Because at the end of the day, you'd rather be misunderstood than mistreated. 3. Power in the pause. You're not the loudest voice in the room, and you like it that way. You observe, analyze, absorb. While others are busy proving their point, you're collecting data. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy. When you speak, you do it with intention. Your words aren't fillers, they're force multipliers. You don't talk just to be heard. You speak to shift things. This makes people nervous. They can't read you. They don't know what you're thinking, and they hate that. But that's the point. You've learned that silence is your superpower. It disarms egos, reveals truths, and creates room for the real dynamics to surface. You're not afraid of pauses. You sit in the silence that makes others squirm, because you know those are the moments the truth leaks out. You don't interrupt people to insert yourself. You let them expose themselves, because you know what's done in rush reveals insecurity. What's done in stillness reveals depth. You've mastered restraint. You can feel angry and not explode. You can feel sad and not collapse. You let emotions pass like waves, not because you're numb, but because you've trained yourself to respond, not react. And that's power most people never taste. You're not the type to win arguments. You win minds, slowly, quietly, permanently. 4. Tribe over trend. You don't chase popularity. You don't need a squad. You're not interested in being seen with the right people just to feel valid. Sigma ladies don't move in flocks. They attract tribes. To you, connection is sacred. You don't collect people like social tokens. You build intentional alliances where depth matters more than followers and presence matters more than posts. You've probably been the one who drifted away from large groups. Not because you can't get along, but because surface-level bonds drain you. Small talk bores you. Groupthink irritates you. You crave conversations with soul, not noise. People often wonder why you're so selective, why you're not out every weekend, why your circle is so tight. But they don't see the truth. You've outgrown fake loyalty, forced energy, and transactional friendships. You've learned the difference between being liked and being respected, being invited and being valued, being popular and being real. You don't need people to validate your worth. You curate who gets to be close, and that scares some folks. Because in a world that teaches women to be available, soft, and accommodating, you dared to be discerning. You understand that energy is currency, and you refuse to spend it on anyone who doesn't uplift, evolve, or inspire you. You don't fear solitude. You've made it powerful. And because of that, when the right souls do show up, they feel like home, not a hustle. The no-noise hustler. You don't need to announce every move. You don't need to prove you're grinding. You don't overshare your plans on social media or update the world every time you shift direction. Why? Because your validation doesn't come from volume, it comes from results. Sigma ladies don't flex, they execute. You're the kind who builds in silence. While others are busy documenting the process, you're deep in the process. Your goals aren't for show, they're for growth. You're not motivated by applause. You're driven by impact, mastery, and internal satisfaction. Some people think you're not ambitious because you're not loud about it. They don't see the late nights, the inner struggles, the discipline behind your calm. But you're not here to convince them. You're here to become undeniable. You've learned that noise attracts attention, but silence attracts respect. And you prefer the latter. You work when no one's watching. You pivot when no one's listening. You glow up in private. Then you emerge, sharper, clearer, and ahead of the curve. That's why when you do succeed, people say it was out of nowhere. But it wasn't. It was years of quiet consistency. You don't do hustle culture. You do purpose-driven work. And you don't burn out trying to prove yourself. You stay lit by keeping your vision clean and uncorrupted. Success for you isn't a moment. It's a mindset. And you wear it well, even when no one's looking. 6. Empathy with edges. You feel deeply, but you don't let those feelings control you. You love hard, but not blindly. You care, but not at the expense of your own sanity. You're not a bleeding heart, you're a guarded one, and that's what makes your empathy powerful, not performative. Sigma ladies aren't out here trying to save everyone. You've done the emotional labor. You've carried people. You've absorbed pain that wasn't yours to hold, but you've also learned when to stop pouring into broken cups. You don't confuse compassion with self-betrayal. You've built boundaries around your empathy. You don't let guilt manipulate you. You don't let love excuse disrespect. People call you cold when you cut them off, but they forget how much warmth you gave before the freeze. They remember the silence, not the 100 chances you extended. Your kindness isn't for sale. It's offered with clarity, not desperation. You don't beg to be seen. You don't overextend to be accepted. You offer care from overflow, not emptiness. And when someone breaks that trust, you don't fight to fix them. You walk away to protect your peace, not to punish them. Your empathy has teeth. It's soft and sharp. And if someone thinks they can play you because you care, they're in for a rude awakening. You love with depth, not delusion. That's what sets you apart. 7. The mirror effect. Ever noticed how your presence makes certain people squirm? Not because you're rude, not because you're loud, but because you reflect back what they've been avoiding. That's the mirror effect. As a Sigma lady, you don't play nice just to be liked. You move with truth. And truth, when it's raw and unfiltered, tends to hit people in places they've kept hidden. You don't have to call out anyone's insecurities. They feel them around you. Your confidence, your independence, your unwillingness to conform. It makes people check their own masks, and most don't like what they see without them. You trigger people simply by being fully yourself. It's not personal, it's energetic. You're tuned to a higher frequency, and those who aren't ready to elevate will either criticize you, compete with you, or try to diminish you. But here's the twist. You're not responsible for their discomfort. You didn't come here to shrink to keep others comfortable. You came to be a reflection, not a sponge. That's why some people admire you and others avoid you. Some will be drawn to your clarity, others will run from it. You've learned to let both reactions happen, without internalizing either. You're not for everyone. You're for those who are ready to level up, who want mirrors, not masks. And if your truth threatens their illusion, that's their lesson, not your burden. 8. Rebel with a ritual. To the outside world, you look unpredictable, mysterious, maybe even chaotic. But behind that aura, there's structure, a ritual, a rhythm, a system only you know. You're not a hot mess. You're a disciplined rebel. Sigma females aren't wild. They're self-governed. You don't need others to keep you accountable because you're already accountable to your own vision. You may not wake up at 5 a.m. like the Instagram productivity crowd, but your life runs on intention. You have quiet routines, mental check-ins, and sacred habits that ground you when the world feels noisy. While others rely on motivation, you rely on ritual. Whether it's journaling at midnight, morning walks with no phone, deep work in silence, or unplugging on weekends, your methods are private but powerful. Your rebellion isn't in destruction, it's in designing life on your terms. People think freedom means no structure. You know real freedom comes from self-discipline, from choosing what aligns with your soul, not what earns cheap applause. You're not chaotic. You're just not available for a lifestyle that feels like a cage. You've built a life that honors your inner world, not just your outer image, and that makes you both unshakable and untouchable. 9. You redefine loyalty. You've got loyalty in your blood, but not the kind people expect. To you, loyalty isn't blind devotion. It's not sticking around out of guilt or history. It's about alignment, values, energy, respect. You don't ride or die for just anyone. You ride for those who ride with truth, with growth, with mutual effort. The moment a bond becomes one-sided, you don't wait for a betrayal. You recognize the imbalance and exit without warning. Not out of pettiness, but principle. You've seen how people throw around the word loyalty while acting with entitlement. They expect access without effort. They want presence without reciprocity. But you don't play that game. You're loyal to your integrity first. You don't gossip behind backs or switch up when someone isn't in the room. You're real, solid. And when you care, you show up fully, No half energy, no fake vibes. But cross your boundaries, betray your trust, you won't retaliate, you'll disappear. And the silence after your departure is louder than any confrontation. People often don't realize what your loyalty meant until it's gone. Because when you love rare. And when you walk for good. Your standard is simple. If the connection doesn't feed your peace or honor your worth, it's not loyalty, it's emotional debt, and you've stopped paying interest on relationships that drain you. 10. You own your shadows. Most people run from their darkness. You sat with it, faced it, learned its name and made peace with it. Sigma ladies don't pretend to be perfect. You've looked at your flaws without flinching. You've acknowledged your trauma without turning it into a trophy or a crutch. You've embraced the ugly, the broken and the fierce parts of yourself, and you lead with that awareness. You're not out here selling fake positivity. You don't slap affirmations on unhealed wounds. You do the gritty, unfiltered, unpretty work of healing in real time, and it shows. Because of that, your strength doesn't come from pretending life is fine. It comes from surviving what wasn't and choosing to show up anyway. You've stopped hiding the parts that don't sparkle. You've turned them into armor, not shame. And that makes your confidence rooted, not rented. You're not intimidated by pain anymore. You've learned to speak its language. You don't see your past as baggage. You see it as a blueprint. That's why when chaos hits, you don't break. You bend, assess, and rise. You've been to rock bottom and built a ladder. You've walked through storms and found clarity. You've fallen apart and stitched yourself back together tighter and tougher. You own your shadows, and in doing that, you've earned your light, not borrowed it, built it. 11 standards that scare the average. Your standards don't make you difficult, they make you unshakable, but to the average person that's terrifying. Why? Because your expectations require effort, clarity, integrity. And in a world that runs on shortcuts, distractions, and low-effort relationships, that's threatening. You don't ask for perfection, you ask for presence, authenticity, intent. And that's a filter most people can't pass. You've been called too much, too intense, or too picky. But really, you're just done with settling. You've tasted peace, self-worth, and deep connection. And once you've had that, you don't unlearn it. Your standards aren't there to punish. They're there to protect, to filter out chaos before it enters, to keep your world clean, your energy safe, and your time honored. You don't lower your standards to keep people around. You raise your frequency and let those who can't reach it fall away. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. And here's what makes you unstoppable. You're willing to wait, to be alone, to not compromise, because you know one aligned connection is worth more than 10 diluted ones. You're not here to be easy to love. You're here to be worth showing up for. And if someone calls that intimidating, that's a reflection of their own unpreparedness. Not your personality. You are the standard, and the ones meant for you won't just meet it, they'll match it. If you saw yourself in these signs, if something lit a fire inside you or gave language to a power you've always felt, then let me say this loud and clear. You're not too much. You're just not for the mediocre. You're a Sigma lady, and you weren't born to blend in. You were made to disrupt patterns, demand better, and walk away without fear. You're not misunderstood. You're ahead of your time. So don't shrink. Don't silence yourself. Don't dull your standards to fit a world that hasn't caught up yet. Instead, own it. All of it. Your depth, your mystery, your silence, your standards, your whole damn vibe. And if this message hit home, don't just scroll. Subscribe to the Sigma Lady, where truth walks tall and we say what others are too afraid to even whisper. Want to keep this voice alive? Want to fuel the fire behind these words? You can support me through Buy Me a Coffee, links in the description and pinned comment. Every bit helps keep this space sharp, fierce, and uncompromised. Until next time, stay high frequency, stay untouchable, and stay sovereign. The world doesn't need more followers. It needs more Sigma ladies. And you're already one of them.